A lot of people come to me, like 100% of everyone comes to me to, update their resumes, and then they realize that that's just a tiny piece of the puzzle, right? It will not get you a job in itself. It needs to be a combination of a complex system that gets you a job. And some people just get it, or it comes more naturally to them to go through that process of speaking about themselves and so forth. But for some of you, and I'd say most professionals, it's something that needs to be worked on and learned. And the people that reach out to me feel like they need an extra guidance as well to go through that process, which I'm happy to do. It's my job.
Hi, I'm Renata Bernardi, and this is the Job Hunting Podcast, where I interview experts and professionals and discuss issues that are important for job hunters and those who are working to advance their careers. So make sure that you subscribe and follow, and let's dive right in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Job Hunting Podcast. As you know, I'm your host, Renata, and today the key topic that I want to discuss with you is very topical and timely and incredibly important for us. It's goal setting. So with the 2024 Olympic Games in full swing, there's, of course, no better time to draw inspiration from some of the world's greatest athletes. Their journeys, which is characterized by rigorous training and goal setting and relentless pursuit of excellence, offers professionals like you valuable lessons that we can apply to career goals and job searches in the short term as well. Whether you're aiming for a new role, or you're planning a big career change, or you're looking to advance in your current position, I'm sure that setting clear, ambitious goals is a key to success for you. And it all comes from a sort of single piece of research done in the 70s, 60s, and 70s that has been repeated over and over again because it's such a great goal setting recipe, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But in my solo episodes from now on, I also want to touch on topics that come to my mind because of my career coaching work and the news of the day. So when I'm doing a solo episode like this one from now on, you will get from me from time to time, I'm assuming most times, episodes that discuss a series of different topics, not just one topic. And that's because I think I'm developing a pretty good relationship with you, and it has become so like a chat between friends. And there are topics that I think are important for us to discuss right now, and I don't want to wait until I record an episode again to talk about it because it may lose the momentum, and I want to address it right now. So if you want to listen to just one of the topics that I'm discussing, your best friend is the episode show notes. So if you go to the written notes on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you're listening to us, then you will see that there are timestamps that we develop. We've been doing this forever, since the first episode. So you can go through the timestamps and find the topic that you want to discuss. And you can do that for every episode, not just this one and the ones that are coming up. Or if you are one of our loyal listeners and you like to have me in your ears as you drive to work, or you go for a walk, or you cook, then that's even better. So make sure that you're subscribed to our weekly newsletter so you never miss an episode, and you always have a link to the newest chat. And there will be a link to subscribe to the newsletter below. I'm always surprised that people listen to me week in, week out, and they're not subscribed to the newsletter. I just find it so much easier to be subscribed to the newsletter. Maybe it's my personal preference. Whenever there is an influencer or an expert that I trust, let's say Sam Harris or Neil Yao, or I don't know, can't think of anybody else right at the moment, top of my head. But there's so many great weekly newsletters that I receive that I love to read, and I hope that mine is like that for you as well. And I know that for some of you it is, because you usually reply back to me to say you got something out of it. And that warms my heart. It makes my day. You have no idea. Nothing makes me happier than know that whatever I shared with you has made a difference in your day, in your job search, and in your career. So keep that feedback coming. It's quite lonely here sometimes, especially recording episodes. When I'm doing private coaching or group coaching, or career consultations, it's wonderful because then I'm, of course, talking to you or people like you that are looking for jobs, and nothing makes me happier. But when I'm recording episodes like this, it's quite lonely. So it's good to get the feedback from you. And you can probably notice I have a bit of a husky voice. I was so sick last week that I could not record an episode. It was more than a week that I was really sick, and I felt worse than when I had COVID. That's how sick I was. And I'm still talking funny and coughing a little bit. So apologies if you can hear that in my voice. But it was so awful and so difficult for me to operate while I was so unwell with that bad cold that I had to cancel most of my client meetings. It was a coaching week for me. I coach clients every other week, and then I see my corporate clients, or I do corporate work every other week. So that is how I operate. And this week I'm working with corporate clients, which is fantastic. But last week I had to postpone most of my coaching. And I apologized so profusely to the coaching sessions I tried to go ahead with because I was so unwell. I had to stop halfway through. So this week is really busy. And it was so bad last week, I had to rebroadcast an old episode. It is, however, a very important episode for those of you who are very keen on being a non-executive director, on being on a board. If you're in Australia or if you are overseas, it doesn't matter. Our guest for that episode that was rebroadcasted last week, it was episode 249, is one that I recommend to all of my clients and people that book consultations with me to talk about board positions, because Marian McLeod is the facilitator of the training program that exists here in Australia. That prepares people for due diligence and governance and board positions. It's facilitated by an organization called the Australian Institute of Company Directors, and Marian is one of the facilitators of that very hard program. It's not an easy program to do, and I 100% recommend you listening to that old episode. It's a very good one. And today, like I said, we're going to talk about goal setting theory in a minute, which is one of my favorite topics. It's one that I was a research assistant for a couple of academics that were working on goal setting theory back in the early 2000s. And thank goodness for that, because it made me so aware of this important piece of research that I now apply not only for myself throughout my career, but now to my clients as well. Before we go into that key topic, I want to talk to you about two things that have been top of mind for me lately. One of them is when you have to job search, but you're really sad. I don't know if you've been in that situation before. I know that I have had that situation in my life, and I know that some of my clients have in the past. I'm not talking about any client in particular, but some of my clients have had that situation as well. Job searching while sad is very hard to do. It's very hard to do. Job searching, going through recruitment and selection, is a competition. It's a competition. There are high stakes, and it's a difficult competition to go through. You're competing against a lot of people, a lot of professionals. At the beginning of the competition, it might be easier sometimes, for you to go through to the next round. But as you get through to the next round and the next round and so on, it gets harder and harder because you're competing amongst equals. You might have different strengths and attributes as a candidate for a role, but everybody is very good at the top 2, at the top 3, and even the top 4. Okay. So mentally, the mindset has to be something you care about and you exercise and you develop, in addition to other things, in addition to the network that you do and the resumes that you update. A lot of people come to me, like 100% of everyone comes to me to update their resumes, and then they realize that that's just a tiny piece of the puzzle, right? It will not get you a job in itself. It needs to be a combination of a complex system that gets you a job. And some people just get it, or it comes more naturally to them to go through that process of speaking about themselves and so forth. But for some of you, and I'd say most professionals, it's something that needs to be worked on and learned. And the people that reach out to me feel like they need an extra guidance as well to go through that process, which I'm happy to do. It's my job. Um, if you add on top of that sadness, it is really hard, right? Sadness can be from the fact that you lost a job. So that is the most common, most popular sadness that I feel in my clients and prospect clients that reach out to me for a conversation. The sadness of being let go, of having a job that you were doing so great at be made redundant. A lot of people think that redundancies have to do with performance. It 100% does not have to do with performance. Redundancies, when they're done for real, they are for real. Sometimes the decision is made so many layers above you, your boss doesn't even know you've been made redundant. That has happened to a lot of my clients, where they, got a meeting request, they were made redundant, and then the boss didn't even know. You may have heard of stories like that. Okay. So it has nothing to do with performance. It has to do with restructures in the business. And it makes you so sad to let go of all of the amazing work that you've done, or, feel like you've been neglected by your peers, who are also kind of your friends, sometimes even considered family, because you spend so much time with them. So that's real sadness. But sometimes there are other things that have happened. Sometimes you lost someone, like a real loss. Somebody passed away in your family, somebody close to you, a friend, a sister, a brother, a partner. Sometimes there are other things that are happening. You're caring for somebody who is really sick and unwell. You are desperately missing your home country. If you moved away, you're an expat, for example, or a migrant like myself. And dealing with those emotions while also being high performing as a job candidate for a role is incredibly hard. So I'm saying all of this because I know some of you listening may be going through things, and I want you to stop and reflect to see if those things are not affecting your ability to get your job, and you may not even notice that it's affecting. So, for example, you may think, okay, I'm applying, I'm not getting a job. Why is it? I feel like I'm doing everything right, but are you? Is there something else that's playing in your mind? And we know now, although we think it's woo woo and a lot of people don't realize it, but we know now for absolute certainty that our mindset, the things we say to ourselves, the way we treat ourselves, influence and are incredibly related to the outcomes in our lives. So I want you to remember that and think about the things that you may have been going through right now that may be affecting your ability to get what you want, to achieve your goals. And sometimes there's nothing you can do except wait it out. But sometimes there are things that you can do to compartmentalize your life in ways that will allow you to perform better at something like job searching, right? Or getting yourself together and putting your career back in place, even though you're sad. So there are exercises and strategies and frameworks and ways of compartmentalizing your life so that you can do things alongside and have maybe two speeds happening. Because no, but not everybody has the privilege of waiting things out. And sometimes you really need a job right now, even though you're incredibly sad. And I get that. I've been in that situation myself. Um, so I want you to think about that and reflect on what's affecting your performance as you're looking for work, and see if there are things that you can do or things that you can learn from a career coach, for example, that will help you deal with the situation better. And yeah, I wanted to just let it all out there. I think that those things are very bespoke, and ideally, I'd like to work with you if you decide to work with me on a one-on-one consultation, which you can book on my website, or work with you as a private client for a couple of months to really support you, because every case is a different case, and there's very little that I can say in a podcast that goes to so many different people. But at least I wanted to acknowledge there and hopefully educate you as well on being kind to yourself and understanding that sometimes things take time and take longer, but there is no reason why you won't achieve your goals in the future. No reason whatsoever. Most of the time, I'm really surprised that people, you know, um, are so anxious about things. I'm working with a few managers that have been made redundant. So they came to me through a corporate client, and the biggest fear that most of them have is that there will be a gap in their resumes of a few weeks or a few months. Nobody cares about that. The level of anxiety that unemployed professionals have is not correlated to the realities out there of how people perceive you in the workplace. And if there is a recruiter that will look at a month or 2 months gap in your resume as something of a negative, then that recruiter really doesn't deserve to talk to you. Let's find somebody else that's more deserving of your expertise and your experience. But it's harder and harder these days to find those really bad people in recruitment. I think most people understand that restructures and layoffs and changes in careers are more common because we're working so much harder than any other generation before us, and so much longer than every other generation that came before us as well. That no wonder from time to time you're not going to be successful. I mean, what were you thinking? What were we all thinking? That things were always going to be rosy and perfect? It's impossible. It's just not realistic, right? So, yeah, job hunting when you're sad. Not easy to do. Keep that in mind. Talk to me if you need extra help, or at least talk to someone. I think it might be very helpful for you. Then there is the other issue that's happening right now, which is the financial market is crashing all over the world. So as I record this, it started in Japan, then Australia. As they kept opening, the financial markets were crashing. And I mean, there's lots of things happening. There are lots of big restructures happening in so many different sectors, from pharma to tech to retail to manufacturing. And look, whenever there are losers, there are winners. I want you to know that it's never downhill for everybody. And I want you to be smart at understanding where the potential opportunities will be in the months ahead as we, go through this difficult financial times in the Western world, at least. And I want you to think about, okay, if this is hard for me, a job seeker looking for full-time employment in this sector, what is it that I can do in the meantime? What are the opportunities and the strategies that I can implement? Because the world is always balanced. It's always yin yang. So it's balanced right now, even if the markets are crashing and going down. There are people winning in these situations as well. But the world will eventually balance itself out in a couple of months, and you just need to wait it out. And I know it's a privilege and some of us can't afford that, but I want you to use your intuition and not your instincts to navigate the situation better. When we use our intuition, we use wisdom, we use knowledge, we use experience. When we use instincts, we're tapping into some primitive stuff in our brains, the monkey brain, the reptile brain, and that's not very good for us. It's fight and flight, it leaves us anxious, and it's not really to our benefit to be tapping on that right now. So, um, I have just today done a webinar for those clients that bought the Reset Your Career program, which I've just redone it completely. I'm just so happy and relieved that finally, it's the third time. I think it's the third time. One, two, three. This is the fourth. I keep saying it's the third time. It's the fourth time I record Reset Your Career, and it needed to be redone. So now it's basically brand new. And to celebrate that, here's my voice. I'm losing my voice a little bit. So to celebrate that, I invited everyone that bought the new reset and the people that had bought it prior for a webinar this morning. And one of the questions that we received was about, the job market slowing and the financial markets crashing. What was my personal view? Yada, yada. And one of the people that were listening said, but what about entering executive jobs? And she was right. I said, you were right. Entering executives are doing fine. I mean, it's a different lifestyle and a different way of working. When I say they're doing fine, they understand that if you are working short-term contracts and entering executive work, that from time to time you will not be employed, and that's fine. You've opted for that style of working. And if you are interested in understanding entering executive work, contract work, or portfolio career lifestyle, then there is a category on the Job Hunting Podcast website called, what is it called? Portfolio career, that's what it's called. And and you will see lots of episodes there with professionals that have opted into portfolio career, professionals that are doing contract work, recruiters that do interim executive management work. So go through that list of episodes and listen to the ones that you think will help you better understand the way that professionals operate differently. And yeah, for them, that there are probably more opportunities now because of the situation that we're in. So I want to just kind of keep that in mind, because it all comes down to strategy, knowledge, patience, and resiliency, both with the job searching when you're sad situation and the job searching when we have a difficult year. And this year will be difficult until the very end. We need to wait out the elections. We need to hopefully get some better resolutions on the wars that are happening at the moment. And then I think the market will start to stabilize, and that would be great for job seekers. But I really, really, as a career coach, love when the market is around this time, kind of slow, kind of not too intense, because I think there's a lot of strategic reputation work and personal branding work and professional and career development work that can be done during these times. That, like I said, I've said it time and time again on the podcast. You're planting the seeds, you're nurturing the seeds that you will harvest later on if you do this work, the pre-work, preload the work when the markets are slow, so that when they are busy and you're in demand a lot, then they will think of you you will be the first person that they will think of. And that's the sort of work as a career coach that I love doing. So reach out to me if you need any help. Okay, now understanding job search, understanding goal setting theory, right? So the key topic for today is understanding goal setting theory. Like I said before, I back in 2001 when I moved to Australia, if you read my story on my website, you probably know I thought I was going to be okay, and then quickly realized I was running out of money. So one of the first jobs I got was a research assistant, and that's when I worked with academics at the University of Melbourne that were doing a lot of work and doing a lot of reading on understanding goal setting theory. And that was so good for me. So let's start with the basics, okay? The goal setting theory was developed by Edwin Locke and Gary Lathan. Edwin Locke, I believe, is still alive, and I corresponded with him during that time as a research assistant, and it was such a thrill for me. And they put together specific and challenging goals alongside with feedback, and they realized in their research that that contributed to higher and better task performance. Okay, so the core principle that they framed that we have been using time and time again. The funny story is, I think that the original book, which I have a copy of because I had to photocopy it, if the book is out of print, you are allowed to photocopy it. So I have a photocopy version of it somewhere. The book is out of print. But if you Google it, you will find time and time again, very simple. To my opinion is that they've simplified it to the point it's kind of quite boring. But the book and the research is so interesting on how it's important to have goals that are ambitious. If you set goals that are not ambitious enough, people don't aim for them, they don't work towards them. That the right level of ambition in a goal is important for performance. Isn't that surreal? Like, it's counterintuitive almost. You would think, oh no, if you set a goal that you can achieve, then you will be happier, and then you can move to another goal that you can achieve, and then you will be happier. Nope. No, no, no. The harder you make the road, not the super hard, you can't be super hard, but if you make the goal harder to achieve, you will work more towards it. You will have better performance if you do an ambitious goal that's still achievable. And that balance, that equilibrium, as part of their research, it's so interesting to read about. So it's a pity that the research and the book is out of print. I mean, you could find the academic articles and in academic papers and in academic journals, but I think you would have to pay for that. So listen to this episode and you'll be fine. All right, so clarity. Let's start with clarity. Goals should be clear and specific. How many times have you heard that? And how few times have you actually written down your goals? I know we talk about it and we sort of, I don't know what happens to us. We talk about clarity and the need to be clear and specific, and then we never actually put pen to paper and write things down in that clear and specific way. Not only goals should be clear and specific, your reputation, your personal brand, what you want to reach for in your career should be clear and specific. And I find that when clients are lacking in that, that's when over time, as they get older and wiser, it can have detrimental effect on their careers, because over time you want to build your reputation. You want your reputation to be built over time and be crisp, clear, and specific. When you are changing careers completely, which happens from time to time, and it's totally fine to do it, you need a certain level of vulnerability and humility to start building that clarity back again. and informing people that your goals have changed, that your brand has changed. So clarity is important in so many different ways. And the best way to reach clarity is to take things out of your brain and onto paper. Then you have challenge, like I said before, that I think is so fascinating, that goals should be difficult enough to be motivational, but not so difficult that they are not attainable. And that balance is one that's hard to put together on your own. Okay? Because you may be either too tough on yourself and write a goal that's completely bonkers, and the role can be unattainable for different things. So, for example, most of the time, I find that professionals set goals that are attainable, but not in the time frame that they want. Okay, so I know that somebody is really out of the loop when it comes to recruitment and selection if they are a senior executive and they think that they will get a job in a month's time. They will not ever get a job in a month's time. It does not happen. And it has nothing to do with them. It just has to do with how recruitment and selection works. Okay? People that get from one job to another in a month's time are people that work in clerical jobs, in very sort of retail jobs and all of that. If you're a manager and above, it will take you more than a month. It will take you more than 2 months, possibly more than 3 months. If you go to any averaged out frictional unemployment data from your Bureau of Statistics, wherever you live in the world, you will see that the number of weeks between employment is usually medium around 12 to 13. During the pandemic, it went up to 20, 23, and that's an average. But if you are closer to the top of the pyramid of an organizational structure, there are less jobs, there are less movement, less turnover. So that for you will be higher, and you just need to be okay with that. As a career coach who is specialized in job searching, my goal is to always reduce that time for my clients to the best of my ability. I'm a dog with a bone, and I will try my very best to reduce it a month or two. And I don't not only want to give my clients knowledge, but I want to make it worth their investment. So that's my goal as a professional coach. But I think it's important to understand the realities of how the recruitment operates. And as much as I want to reduce time, recruitment takes a certain amount of weeks. So between the time you see the job advertised and the time an offer is made, it can be 2 months, right? So that's really important. That's just one way that the goal setting in terms of clarity and the challenge can be challenging for you in terms of deciding it on your own without feedback from a coach or people that have done this before you. Then there is commitment. There must be buy in from the individual setting the goals. This is super important. And sometimes people want to work with me. And when I explain to them, and that's why we have the discovery call for private clients, when I explain to them that in addition to sessions with me, there's work to be done between sessions, they have to think about it. Why? Because they need to commit. The commitment in sort of job hunting, working with a coach, and so forth requires time, requires carving out time. Where is that time coming from? Is it coming from the time you sleep, or the time you go to the gym, or the time you spend with your family? Or what? I mean, it's a tough decision to find the time to commit to job hunting. And it's really hard to take time away from relaxation or family time. I don't want people to do that, but we need to agree on how much time you can dedicate. And that's usually the reason why people opt for private coaching with me for 6 months instead of 3 months. It's when I explain to them the time commitment, that they will need to have. They go, all right. And I make 6 months be more financially enticing for people for that reason, because I don't want them to burn out when they decide to look for work. That's the worst thing that can happen. I mean, we just spoke about sadness. So burning out is another big, big no-no. You need to be at the top of your game when you are in front of recruiters and being assessed, right? Then the next thing when it comes to goal setting is feedback. So regular feedback helps you adjust and refine your goals as needed. So when you go to market and you're looking for work, you usually go with a minimal viable pitch. I think a lot of people think that they need to go to market with a perfect personal pitch or elevator pitch. It's impossible. There is no such thing because until you get feedback from recruiters, you're not able to adjust and refine your goals, to adjust and refine your pitch, right? So that feedback is really important. And that's where networking comes from. That's when getting advice, mentoring, and coaching comes from. Then you have task complexity. So for complex tasks like recruitment, like job searching, it's important to ensure that the goals are achievable given the skill set of the individual. I'm going to repeat that. For complex tasks, it's important to ensure that the goals are achievable given the skill set of the individual. Now, this is a really interesting part of goal setting because 100% of my clients are excellent professionals in their fields of work. They are financial managers, financial controllers, CFOs, marketing managers, product managers, communication managers, CEOs. They are, a whole bunch of things from executive assistants all the way to C-level professionals. They are great at what they do. But the task complexity of job searching is different from the task complexity of being a product manager or a marketing manager. It's completely different. So the complexity of the tasks is where people get confused when they're looking for work. They think that by being great in the work that they do, they will get the job that they want. And then they they bump into an ATS system when they're applying for work, and all of a sudden they realize that they do not know how to apply for that job and beat the ATS system and talk about themselves and explain the sort of work that they've done and how they fit with the new organizations. And sometimes it is very straightforward. I'll give you the example that I always use is you're a financial controller in one company, you want to be a financial controller in another company. It's more straightforward. Most of my clients are not like that. Most professionals are not like that. They want to change roles. They want to advance in their careers. They want to go from a financial controller to be a director of finance. They want advancement. They want change of sectors. They want transferability. And that's where people find hard to convey the message. And if you also add to that changing countries, changing sectors, changing, even if you're in the same country but you're changing towns, you lose your network. Even from one company to another, even if they are competitors, they might use different ways to explain things and jargons and narratives. All of that needs to be adjusted. And even though I'm not an expert in everything, I am at least an expert in recruitment. So that helps, if you're working with a career coach. Now, Olympic athletes and goal settings. I love the Olympics. It's the time I do the least amount of exercise because I just sit in front of the TV and I watch everything and dream about, doing exercises like that in the future. But they epitomize, don't they, the essence of goal setting. I always think of Michael Phelps because I'm from that generation where we watched that amazing swimmer win so many medals. And I remember reading many articles about him back then. How long ago was that? 10 years ago? He was a fantastic swimmer, and his goal setting process was so meticulous and so detailed and involved not just the end goal of winning the gold medals that he won, but he was very specific with daily and weekly targets for his training sessions. And his approach highlights really the importance of breaking down long-term goals into manageable short-term objectives. Now, I want to use this opportunity to say that the group coaching program is coming back. And that's really the first thing that we do with private coaching clients and with group coaching clients is, identifying, reflecting on yourself, on your strengths, identifying what your true personal goals are. It's not even career goals, right? It's like, what do you want to achieve 20, 30, 40 years from now? And then we break down the long-term goals into manageable short-term objectives. That's even before we look at resumes, everybody, And this is the most important thing, because if you work with that as your key, it unlocks everything else. It just makes you perform so much better in front of recruiters when you have a good sense of self and a good sense of what you want to achieve. Now, in this Olympic Games in 2024, Simone Biles is considered the greatest gymnast of all times, and she truly is. She sets such high but realistic goals for herself, and she knows when to take a step back, and that is something that was so beautiful to see in the previous Olympic in Tokyo, that she quickly understood that she wasn't feeling her best, that she was having issues with her performance that had nothing to do with her physical training, and she pulled out of the race, right? So she was trying to win a race whilst being not well. There were things happening in her life. If you watch her documentary on Netflix, which I recommended on my newsletter a couple of weeks ago, you will know what those things were. Don't need to talk about them right now. But those things were playing up. Whatever it was affecting her performance, and it was all in her head. And that's why the holistic way of engaging with your goals is so important. It's not just about the physical, in her case, the physical performance, the physical training. In your case, as a corporate professional, it's not just getting your resume crisp and clear. It's not just getting the best possible job application. It's not just looking back at your career and thinking, yeah, I've done all the right things. No, it's how you present yourself on the day. It's your mindset. It's how your brain is in sync with the opportunity in front of you to talk to people and present yourself in a certain way that denotes trust, that denotes likability. That's what wins the race for you. So in Simone's case, her ability to push the boundaries for her sport, and that all stems from her deep commitment to her goals and a structured plan to achieve them. And I really love her story. It teaches us so much about resiliency, about grit, about adaptability in a goal setting situation. Now, how can you apply Olympic strategies to your career? I hope I've already addressed that, but you can. Like you can see, you can apply these strategies to your career goals. And first of all, set clear and specific goals. Not just in your head. Sit down, stop the episode, sit down and write it down and have them as specific as they can be, with performance targets, career objectives that are clear. And even if you don't add a timeline right now, which is something that you can get advice from, either from a coach or a mentor or people that did similar things before you, make sure that you write the clear, crisp goal for yourself. Then break it down. The breaking it down might need some support from others. Long-term goals, they can be very overwhelming. They're they're exciting in my view, but breaking them down into smaller, more manageable tasks is great. It creates a timeline for these tasks, and you need to keep yourself on track. So that is the secret sauce, everybody. It's not so much that you have an amazing, ambitious goal in the future. It's how you project manage it, right? So some people are good at doing that. They just naturally are. Some people need a bit of help in understanding how long tasks take, how many tasks are needed, what those tasks actually are. Sometimes there are too many tasks, and do they all have the same weight in the game? I can say to you that no, some tasks are good to have, but they're not essential, where others are really essential. Then seek feedback and adjust. Just as athletes adjust their training based on feedback, seek mentors, coaches, peers, and adjust your strategies based on feedback to stay on path towards your ambitious goal. And then stay committed and resilient. So, commitment to your goals, even when facing setbacks, is crucial. Now, commitment is really interesting because it is commitment through a timeline. So, I'll give you an example. I was going to the gym every day up until I got sick, right? And now I have not been to the gym in over 10 days. In my past, I would probably feel very distraught about it and a bit anxious and a bit sort of punishing myself for not going back a bit quicker. But I know that I will get there, right? So my commitment to going back to the gym is still there. And there's a bump in the road from being sick and having some family visiting and stuff and not having the time. But I know that tomorrow I will be back in the gym. And I'm actually super excited about that. And I'm not sad that I wasn't able to go for over 10 days. Setbacks are opportunities. You need to stay resilient and you just see them as bumps in the roads and not punish yourself and say, oh, I haven't been committed because I skipped the gym for 10 days. No, it's a setback. You're coming back. And you can use the same learning for job searching. Sometimes there is a setback and you just don't feel like job searching. Take a week off. If you have the privilege to take a week off, it's not going to unravel your job search. If anything, it will make you stronger. You will come back refreshed. You will come back after probably overcoming some of the sadness of not going through a job application that you really liked, not being, not receiving an offer for a role, and then you come back more resilient if you take a break. I'm a big fan of taking breaks. Some people perform better, and I know this from my clients, when they go from one thing to another very quickly. Those people are anti fragile. Not everybody is. You can build that up over time. But personally, my personal life, I actually do prefer to take a couple of days off and build myself up again and come back stronger. So, whatever works with my clients is what we focus on. Whatever works with their personality and their strengths, right? And if you can reflect on what works for you, what has worked in the past in terms of keeping you motivated and incentivized, that's what you should adopt as a strategy. Then celebrate small wins. Don't wait until the win that's all the way out there. I recently recorded an episode with an ADHD expert, and we discussed putting the win, the celebration even before you do a task. That tends to work better with ADHD people. So I'm like, okay, I actually think people should think about that. Some tasks in job hunting are really annoying. You don't need to like everything about it. Although I really want you to enjoy the process. Some of the tasks can be really difficult to do. And to break the ice, I want you to um, um, think about the best way to incentivize you to achieve your goals. Celebrate the small wins, celebrate your achievements along the way, no matter how small, because it will help you maintain your motivation and keep you moving forward. Right? So treat this as a project that has some great tasks that need to be done and some not so great tasks that need to be done. Then the current job market and goal setting. So we spoke about the financial market at the moment. It's crashing hard. The job market is really slow in 2024. And with that, it can be really daunting to set ambitious goals, I believe. With many professionals, I find that they are hesitant to even seek out opportunities because of the uncertain times. And I feel that that is criminal. If you're unhappy with your job, if you feel like you're being underpaid, you're underemployed, you had envision yourself taking some steps forwards this year for career advancement, progression, change, then this is precisely when the great time, to set and pursue career goals, because the market is slow. So you can take your time and do the preloading of the work now, refining your pitch with more time, refining your career plans and transition plans with more time. So by setting those clear goals and working with mentors, your network, recruiters, a career coach like myself, I'd love to work with you. You can navigate the job market way more effectively and position yourself better for future opportunities, because like I said, it will eventually turn around. So many companies are reassessing their workforce needs. Many companies are reassessing how they engage with employees. Some employees will always be engaged in a permanent fashion, others might be contract based. There is a unique chance now to align your career goals with that evolving market, to do an analysis and see how is it that your profession, that what you want to be an expert in what you want to be a leader in, how is it going to evolve in the future? And use this time to upskill, to network, to refine your career strategies to meet those new demands that are coming up. And remember, like I said, the job market will eventually stabilize. And those of you who have remained proactive, not those of you who are just, okay, I'm not going to do anything this year, right? If you've been proactive, even if you do a 1% improvement in your career readiness every day, just a 1%, just take half an hour every other day or 15 minutes just to do a bit of an analysis, a bit of work on yourself, you will be better positioned to take advantages of new opportunities when those opportunities come up. Okay? Those 15 minutes could be the way that you engage on LinkedIn better, the more connections you have on LinkedIn, that email that you sent to somebody you worked with ages ago to reconnect, that coffee break that you took with a colleague or with your boss. That in itself is already you sort of working that, putting that muscle, that career muscle to work. I want to give a special shout out before I end today to my listeners here who follow me on Instagram. The reason why I decided to record this goal setting episode was because you chose it. I gave you 4 options to choose from, and most of you chose the goal setting episode. Thank you so much for engaging with me on Instagram. I find that Instagram is a safer place for you to engage with me. If you find that you don't want anybody on LinkedIn to know that you're commenting on a job hunting experts post because you're completely employed and you don't want people to assume that you're looking for work. And I get that. So you can always private message me. Remember that LinkedIn, you can private message me if you want to. Write a question or a reflection or something like that. Definitely follow me on LinkedIn. But yeah, Instagram, I love when people engage with my stories and give me ideas for future episodes. I really need ideas for future episodes. So if you have any, don't forget to send them to me. You can just reply back to one of my newsletters or send me a message, because your input is invaluable and it helps me tailor the content that resonates better with professionals like you, right? And if you have ideas, always share them. My Instagram account is my name, Renata Bernardi. I will put a link below. It's easy to find. Your feedback and engagement with this episode, with my social media platforms, wherever you found me, is just, it warms my heart. So thank you so much for always being such a great support and great community. I think that's all for today. Thank you for tuning in to the podcast. I wanted to anticipate for you what the next episode will be. We recently had that blue screen day. You may have been affected by it. I wasn't, but gosh, so many of my clients were affected by it. I had cancellations because people couldn't log in, etc. And I decided to tackle that situation and discuss communications and discuss managing risks and crisis management and how to communicate better when things go wrong, especially when it was your responsibility. What do you do? So that will be the key topic for the next episode 250. So make sure that you subscribe if you're interested in knowing what to say if you've made a big mistake. All right, everybody, bye for now. Thanks for having me here. Bye.